Hello, my friends. How are you? Oh my gosh, I am so good. I am so stinking full right now. Um, I love my friend Yen because she is always full of like life and experiences. And I just love hearing her perspective. She is so brilliant. And she is so compassionate. She is a wonderful caregiver, but she's just so incredible. I love her. And one of my favorite things about her is like we're both like she's a foodie and like I am like always wanting to be adventurous, but like I often am like I don't know what to try. I don't know where is good. Like I just put so much pressure into it. And so like when we go out, I'm like you just pick, and it's not because I don't care. It's because like on the contrary, it's like I trust you. Like I know the basic fare of stuff, like but like she like teaches me these new restaurants that I've never been to and these new things. So like she had like given me a list of like five different like places and I was like, okay, pick one. Like usually I'm like, oh, I don't care. So I was like, I have never had Korean barbecue because it was one on the list and I would love to try it. And so she was like, okay, well, the one I picked here is this and this. She's like, but my favorite one's, 20, 30 minutes away. And I was like, yes, let's go to that one. And oh my gosh, it was incredible. Like I ate so much food. Like it was just like meat after chicken, after shrimp, after like veggie, like I feel like, but I didn't feel like overly like stuffed because it wasn't like a bunch of carbs or anything like that. Like it took a couple bites of the white rice. Like I've had white rice before, it's fine, like, but all the other like flavors were so unique and not something I was accustomed to. And so I was like really like savoring and then like I didn't have to cook it either. She was like cooking it up. So I was like, okay, good. Then I don't have that pressure. Like, wonder if I don't cook it enough or whatever. So it was amazing, but even more amazing than the food was the company. And it was just so great to see her again. And it was just so, like, I found it so ironic that, like, her and I are both kind of on our own similar journeys. And we've had both of us have, like, witnessed so much death. And both of us have been caretakers. And both of us are really good moms. And, both of us, like, had our own traumas and then like she was like at one point like oh my gosh my traumas compared to yours is nothing and I'm like but it doesn't matter like okay so my trauma may start with a capital T and yours may start with a lowercase t but it doesn't mean like your trauma is any less hurtful or impactful in your life than mine like it doesn't mean like there isn't a scale like ooh okay well this person gets more grace or ooh whatever because of this like no like on the contrary like your trauma as big or as little it could be something so silly and not silly because it's trauma right but like it could be something really really small to somebody else but to you it's huge and that's still hurts that still leaves scars that still leaves an impact on you and so yeah there is no scale we're gonna throw that scale away and we're not gonna compare like who had more trauma or who had this like no your trauma is your trauma and it is painful and it hurts and it needs to be healed because you didn't deserve to be hurt and you didn't deserve to be in pain and you didn't deserve to have your relationships in life altered as a result of it. You didn't deserve that, but it happened and that's okay because like in a lot of these pains and in a lot of trauma, like with the right nurturing and the right care, something beautiful can blossom. Like, even if it's just like, your trauma is we were poor. And so you worked really hard throughout your, education and you went on to start a business and you're a self-made millionaire, like whatever it may be, like there is a reason, there is something in there and that this, like these events, like, alter who you are and it doesn't mean it has to alter you for the bad like it can alter you for the good but you really do need to go back and do that like healing of yourself and like just having the understanding that like we have this power to end the generational curse like whatever it may be alcoholism abuse poverty mental illness, narcissism, all of this stuff, like if we recognize like, oh, hey, in our bloodline, there's this. If, here's my auntie, here's my uncle, here's my grandma, here's my dad, here's my mom. Like if you can recognize these things and accept that like you carry on some traits and some parts of it, like you can change it. It doesn't have to be this way. And it's never too late. Like, yes, my kids are, older, and some of them are, full-fledged adults, and others are like at the youngest, almost 16. So like, it's never too late. Yeah, I can't go back in time and reparent them as when they were 4 years old, but I can go back and say, hey, here are the places in which, I was doing the best I could at the time with the tools I had. And in hindsight, I wish I had maybe a better tool that I could have used, or known how to use this tool a little bit better. And I can see where some of my decisions, some of my actions affected you. And yeah, maybe we can, try to be defensive and be like, well, I did it because X, Y, and Z happened to me. Yeah, that is true. And your story is true, and their story is true. Like, just because you had a reason that you hurt them in some way, it doesn't negate the fact that they were hurt, even if you didn't mean to. And so I think especially like with my daughter in particular, because it seems like, girls are, or at least my girl, seems to, she will call me out on, whatever things, in my parenting that had an adverse effect on her. And I really hope that she can hear me when I say like, none of it was to cause you harm. And I promise I was doing the best I could with the tools I had at the time. If I could be your mom again, all over, like with everything I know today, it would be a completely different experience. And I think that that's why, a lot of grandparents like are really close with their grandchildren, because it's like, you don't get to reparent your children again. But in a way, it's a way of like making amends. It's a reason why, like, when you have 4 kids, when you get to the 3rd and the 4th kid, you parent them very differently than you parent number 1 and number 2. Like, some things that you worried about and were anxious about that like seemed so big and so important. I mean, I remember going back and like getting to preschool registration at 5 a.m. to be number 90 in line, like this was preschool registration. Did it matter? Like, at the end of the day, was it that important? Maybe it was, because like, whatever preschool you're going to, it's going to alter the trajectory. It's going to change who your friends are and who these things. But at the end of the day, like, is that so necessary? Maybe. That decision is on you, and, where you are, and access to other, classes if you don't get into that one. So, you kind of have to make these decisions as best as you can at the time with what you have. And so like, just some things, they just didn't matter. Like in hindsight, like I was like, eh. And I think that like having that realization makes living today that much better. Cause like, I can kind of be like, does this matter? Like, is this super important to the Natasha who I am today? Like, is it going to matter to the Natasha in the future? Like, I think about that sometimes, cause like I said, like, if I could just take a little glimpse, like, 5 years ago, or, whatever, like when my son was having surgery, let's say, for example, and I could see like, he was okay, my family was all okay, I was like better than okay, I would be like, damn, like I would be so hyped up. I would be so excited. I'd be so freaking proud. Like, and sometimes I remember even going through this journey and I was like, man, if that girl could see me now, like what would she say? And so when I was going to go with Yen, I haven't seen her in a while. She has seen me since I've lost weight. But not like, I wasn't quite at this size yet, but, so I went back and was like looking at some of the old pictures of her and I, and it was like, wow, like, like it is a wow, like it is like a wow beyond the physical. Like, just, I have to like show you pictures, because like a picture is like 1,000 words to me. But even just like when I look at her and I'm like, oh my gosh, just so much that she just didn't know. Like so much like love was inside of her and she just didn't access it. Like, you know, so much healing that was needed and she didn't realize it. And it was like, again, none of this stuff was like a conscious, like, I don't want to heal. I don't want to think about this. Like, I don't, you know, none of it was like that. It was just living. And, you know, I was functioning in the default settings and the default things, just trying to survive, trying to ensure that my children survive, trying to ensure that Chris survived, trying to ensure that our business survived, trying to ensure that like my extended family survived. So like, it was just this survival mode constantly. When you're in survival mode, you're like, you're just on call for danger and, you know, anything that can happen. It's like and then you're like anticipating other people's needs and you're, you know, being proactive so that like you're not having to be reactive down the line when something goes wrong. And, you know, it's just so much pressure. And at the end of the day, like so much of my thoughts had became so consumed on what would make everybody else happy. You know, what would they want? You know, Yen had shared a story about how, and it was so familiar to me, like where it was like she went out to go get she went to Cheesecake Factory. She went out and then she was going to get the dessert. And then she automatically started thinking, and nobody ever asked her of this. It's just, but it summed me up in a very like quick, easy way, like who I was. Like, it was like nobody had ever asked her, but she's like sitting there and like, thinking about what kind of cheesecake to get. And then she was like, okay, if I get this one, then, you know, my husband would eat it if I don't finish it. You know, like she was automatically thinking about what other people wanted that weren't even there in the restaurant, and instead of just saying, what is it I want? And so like she ultimately picked a flavor that her husband and nobody else would even eat, that was in the house. And so, you know, like that is like huge progress. So I think a lot of this stuff is awareness. And if we would just teach this in schools, this and like financial literacy, and like my friend was saying, and like these things matter, you know. And I feel like so many of us are just walking around with like these crazy things embedded into our DNA. Our parents were in survival mode, their parents were in survival mode, their parents. And so like so many of us are walking around this world insecure, you know, unaware, like, and we think we're just doing the right thing. We're thinking people are doing the right thing. We're thinking we're kind. That means other people are kind. We're giving. Other people will be giving. Like, and it's just so different than what you kind of think it is. And so, yeah, I say all that to say, like, all this little like progress, like every day, these little choices and changes, and like just like opening your mind to possibilities. Like I say, like there's been different times like I've dabbled in the meditation kind of realm. It doesn't like I'm kind of like go, I'm doing something, and so it doesn't like necessarily match my vibe. Like if I'm stopped, I want to be like learning, or, you know, spending time with people, sharing stories, you know, communicating. Like I'm never just stop, you know. Like sometimes, like, you know, I'll just look out the window, but I'm often running, or you know, like I'm doing something else. It's not this like conscious time. So in different times in my life, I have done this. So like when I first started my health journey, I was so desperate. I would do anything, right? I was like, meditation for weight loss. And I was like, I'll throw anything at this sucker. Like I am so in this. So I would sit there and like, I looked at, and then I listened to this one. It was like on YouTube. And I remember like just bawling. Like it starts, and like it was a guided meditation. And so it was like, okay, you're in a field, and, you know, I'm like, okay, I'm in this field. So I'm visioning the field, and it's got the music. And then you see this person, and they're coming over, and they're in this, you know, perfect outfit, and this da 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 da, and this person is walking closer, and, you know, has this, you know, beautiful body and all these things, and it's going on, and then it was like, and then that you realize the person is you. And I don't even know why, but like that day it was like, oh my, the waterworks just came out again here with the crying. I don't even know what the deal is, but yeah. So I was like crying, like it just connected with me. And so I did that one a few times, and I've dabbled on other ones, and I've done it like in yoga with like quieting, and I've even done a few like meditation classes and stuff like that. It's just really a challenge for me, and it actually does take me to a deep place. Like I was crying in the other one, like that I did the last time I did one in like a group setting, and then the lady next to me, she was like sobbing. So like part of it, I was like, oh my gosh, what happened here? And then, like, so it kind of like takes me into like a very deep kind of like place, and I'm like, okay, I have to be really conscious of like, what is my mental state? Like, am I able to go on this journey right now? Like, what are the requirements for me, like outside of this world? Because like, if I need to show up outside of this world at like 100 or 90 or 80, sometimes when I go down these emotional roads, like I need to be prepared. I need to have a life jacket. I need to have a blanket, like I need to have a little bit of safety equipment around. It needs to be a safe time and things like that, to where I can really focus on it. And like, so sometimes like I've had this like interesting experience with meditation, but again, like my little gratitude gushings jar that I do every day is like, okay, it's been written on my wall, like, because on my wall, what I did, like, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, was like, I'm a visual person, so I started like printing out a calendar, like old school, and then every week like handwriting out, okay, these are my non-negotiables that like aren't part of my non-negotiable. Like I don't have to put on there like make my bed, but at some point in the past I did have to be like make my bed. I don't need to put in there self-care Sunday, because I find self-care in every single day now, which is just amazing. But like I know self-care Sunday is a thing for me, so like if I need it, I will pull it out and I will use it. But it's not limited to Sunday now for me. It's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, all of them. So but when I'm trying to establish a new habit and a new routine, it's really helpful for me to have like a primed environment or some kind of a visual reminder that isn't dependent on my phone, because I find when I'm on the phone, then I'm like, and it's like a quest for more knowledge and a quest for more, like and all the responsibilities I have and things like that, like life gets in the way, or just it happens sometimes. It's just, a song I like, or whatever. It could be anything, because everything is available at the touch of my phone. So like, it's just really helpful to have an old school piece of paper handwritten out and hung on the wall. Like these are my 10 to-dos that I'm working on, and one of them was like my gratitude gushings. One of them was like daily gratitude gushings, I called it, where I, wrote down at least one thing I was grateful for. My other one was, I called it, minute mindful meditation. I was like big on these, like, I don't know what that's called. Like I don't think it's onomatopoeia, but whatever it is with the, the same letter repeating itself. Like I wanted to integrate dry brushing into my routine. I don't know why. I must have saw it probably on something, and I was like, yeah, let's get that lymph moving. And I don't know if it's doing anything, but at least it's like 2 minutes before every shower, 2, 3, whatever, however many minutes it is that day, that like I am like touching my body. I am like giving my body love and care. And it's, so I do it. I can't say like, oh, there's been this benefit or there's been this result, but it just feels good. Like I'm, and that's why I'm doing it. Like nothing more than it feels good. And like, if I'm getting some kind of other result, well, then that's just a cherry on the top, and it also feels good to know like I'm able to do what I put my mind to. So another one was like on there was my cold showers, which even today I was like, literally, I think I yelled like audibly out loud. I was like, oh, it was a tough one. Like scalp massage. And they're mostly like, for me, these were all like things that were all very like self-care, self-nurturing kind of things that, I just simply like had no vocabulary for, had no place in my life until a couple years ago. So like integrating these little things is just a few minutes with myself. But when it came down to the meditation, so there was a few others, but we'll get into those another day. But when it came to the meditation, it was like I even had the meditation app on there. You know, my watch would tell me, I'd be like, I'm not in the mood. I'm just not in the mood. I get that you are telling me right now I am driving, I am about to go in the gym, I just got home from the gym, about to eat, like whatever it was, it just didn't connect with me. And then, like I said, I was reading this one, well, not reading, but audiobooking, but I'm going to call it reading, this one book. And I knew I would learn something from it. And what he inspired me to do was to, in regards to the meditation, he was saying that what he does is he sets, like he has a particular song. One song he listens to, and it's like, you know, it's a form of priming. His body knows and that this is like the time we go into meditation when this song comes on. And it also happens to be like 5 minutes. And I felt like, you know, a minute is like sometimes a little bit of a challenge to like kind of really get into anything. And I was like, I know that there's all these new things that I'm trying to create as like my non-negotiable dailies. And each one I keep incorporating, like I feel like so much better because it's a part of my life. Like I question how I even lived life before without it. And I'm just so grateful that, you know, these new techniques are a part of my daily existence. And so I was like, well, I'll try that. Like, that sounds like a good idea. And see, sometimes it's just like a matter of like getting a new perspective, a new idea. Like, it was just something I never thought of. You know, I went into my app, and I'm not going to say I'm going to listen to the same song, but what I have done is I you know, made a little playlist and in there, and it has like some songs, and they're all about 5 minutes, because I felt like that for me was like a good amount of time that I can give myself 5 minutes in the morning, and then ideally at night. But at least if I can do it once a day, this is we are trying to make work small here. And so knowing it's 5 minutes, knowing what I'm in for, like, is super like comforting, and it makes me feel safe. It makes me trust I'm not just dependent on myself knowing and da 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 da, like, to where it's 5 minutes so I can shut my ringers off. I can shut my, you know, put it on do not disturb. For some reason, like, I had this compulsion to like, I wanted to, when I was doing it, like, I didn't want to lay down, because sometimes it's the start of the day or the end of the day, and I don't know. I didn't want to lay down for it, and I didn't want to just sit. And so for some reason, like for today, like for like this week when I've been trying to implement it, it was like to like squat in I don't even know what the heck pose it's called or whatever, but to squat, like, but with my back braced against the wall. So it was kind of like a deep squat. And I'm telling you, like, there is something that like made me feel like strong, because you're in a squat pose for 5 minutes, and it made me feel really like supported. Like, I didn't feel like I was alone. And so it, like, not like I'm alone, I'm with the wall, but like, you know, like I wasn't gonna fall. I could just let loose. I could be free. I was safe. And I could just really focus on, at this time, I'm just trying to understand the whole breath work. So I'm in and out. And then just today, where the positioning of my hands, like, I could just feel my heart beating. And it was just so beautiful to have this like moment with my heart. And like, for me, I was just like, thank you, you know, like, and I just sat there. And I'm telling you, between the music had these like birds and other sounds, and it was just so lovely that I thought maybe 1 minute had went by. And all of a sudden it was changing songs, and I look, and it was like 5 minutes had went by, and I was like, wow. And the same thing had happened last night. So when I was doing it then, it was just like a lot of these things, like my working out, my, you know, nutrition, my like steps. It's so funny, because it's like, I do all this research, I do all this like studying, like I get all this information, I hear it enough to be like, well, maybe let me just give it a shot. Let me see if it works for me. You know, just because it works for this person and that person doesn't mean it's going to work for Natasha. Let's give it an open-minded shot, right? Without any expectations, and just see what happens. And so it's so funny. Like, I don't know if it's part of like an addictive personality or what it is, you know, this deprivation of it for so long that my soul is like, finally, you know, she's got it. But like last night when I was doing it, like I just found myself wanting more and more. Like, I think 5 minutes turn into 10 and 10 minutes turn into 15. I'm like, okay, listen, tomorrow I'm not going to be able to walk if I squat against this wall for any longer. I just am like, it's gonna, something's got to be hurting in there, but nothing is like hurting at all. But like, I don't know, like it was just something so magical about having that moment. Like, I had all the lights dimmed, you know, I put the AirPods in, so I was like really immersed in the music, which like helps to like silence out all the, you know, external noise in the house. Like, I don't know, it was something just so beautiful about it. So like this morning, even though I had a pretty busy morning, I was like, now I can squeeze in the 5 minutes. I'm getting that in like for the day. Like, even if I don't get back to it again tonight, I'm going to do it. But I love it so much. Like, I don't know. It's just super exciting to try something new and then like find what works for you. Like, for years, I've tried different things. Like I said, YouTube's, my phone, mindfulness apps, like laying, you know, sitting cross-legged, all these different things, doing in a group setting, and just nothing connected. And so when it was like, I had that Oprah aha moment and it was like, okay, let's try this out. So like I said, yes, that book, it wasn't like I would go recommend it to anybody, or, you know, it wasn't, you know, it just didn't connect necessarily with me, everything he was saying. Like, I think what I was thinking about, I was like, well, why didn't I, you know, I usually don't like anything I commit to. Like, it was like, I will like something about it. And I think it just like, and it might have been the speed, because I am at 1.85 speed, like when I listen to it. But, it just felt like so, like disingenuous. Like, I don't know. I felt like he was more of like a salesman, and like, and wherever he was in his life when he wrote this, I believe that he's probably in a better place now, that if he would rewrite the same book, it would have a different tone and narrative. But I think at that time, like from what like the impression it gave me was he was still very uncertain of himself, but almost was trying to sell these concepts that he knew. Like, it was like almost like act it until you are it. Like, you know, like fake it till you make it. Like, and it was like he wanted to be all those things, and I hope that he is everything, you know, and I hope he's still putting in practice the things that he was sharing there, because they were great suggestions. It was just something about it that just personally like turned me off a little bit. But like I said, I'm so grateful for the few hours that I dedicated to this, because I learned from something, even in a situation I wasn't really like fully like connecting with. I was able to learn this technique that like may or may not have came to my own, you know, brain as an option. And it was like, okay, like this made everything worth it, because those like 20 minutes I've now spent, you know, in this meditation is like something that I'm like, oh, and I have you know, like his other thing was like, have a particular place that you're doing it. And like, where I do it is like, ironically, like right here, I just move the chair away. It's like I said, it's a very small room. We're not working with a whole lot. But I just do it here against the wall, and it's like, you know, it's business when the chair is here, and it's pleasure, you know, when the chair is away. It's me time. But this is like my son's gaming chair too. Like, I hijacked it. This was like his birthday present, and he just never had a chance to switch the chairs over. Now I'm like, I'm not sure you're getting your chair back. He at least has a chair, but I was like, I'll trade you. I'll take your other chair. So we'll see what happens. But he's kind of committed to his chair. He's like, I didn't really want a new chair. I was like, well, I was just desperate to get you something. So, you know, it's okay. Anyways, but yeah, like, I don't know. So like, integrating these new things are just such helpful tools. And I don't know like I know everybody does the meditation. I don't know what its, full benefits are, but I know that like after those 5 minutes, like I just feel good. Like it feels good to have 5 minutes where, you know, I'm mostly, thought free, except for like when they pop back in and then you're like trying to get them out. Like I'm nowhere. I need to do more research on being like, okay, what's the goal here? What is now that I've found like a system that works for me, I'm like, okay, now I can like go to the next level and be like, am I supposed to be set an intention? Like, and I know there's no supposed to's, like it's whatever you want to do, but like, how can I make this the most effective thing for me? Like, I always am, and then I want to try that too. Like, so, and if it doesn't work, I'll try something else, or I'll go back to just, feeling my heartbeat in my chest. That's pretty freaking cool. So, and maybe like, I'll work out my feet muscles and my glutes and quads and hamstrings from being in this squat pose. And maybe tomorrow I'm like, listen, I don't want to do the squat. I'm just going to sit, or I'm going to lay, or whatever. And that's okay too. Like, as long as I'm in this routine of doing it, that's what freaking matters. Is like, I'm making the change. I've put it in my mind. I have a plan. Here's the action. And like, life is that simple. Is like, the more we do it, the better we get at it. And the more often we do it is something that becomes a routine. And, sometimes we forget. We go into our default setting like, oh, I come home, I take a shower, I do these things. And then you're like, okay, now I'm showered and in my jammies. It's really hard to put my workout clothes back on and now go work out. So it's like, if you have these systems in place, it just makes living the life you want to live so much better. And like my girlfriend today, she was just like, you are glowing. Like, it is so good to see you. Like, it is, like she's an empty nester now, and she was talking about like the 4 stages of like retirement, because when your kids are all grown up and moved on their own, and she's like, it's a sense of like retirement. And she considered like other jobs and other things, and then she was like, no, I'm in the vacation era like of my time. Like, I want to travel and do all these things. Like, she's like, I should be doing this and I should be doing. I'm like, no, you are doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing, exactly what you need to be doing right now. And so like, it's just so interesting to hear other people's journeys and where they are. And I, especially, it's very comforting to hear, people of similar minds having similar experiences on their own, like, what prompted them on their own personal growth and journey, I think is just so fascinating to hear. And to have this like compassion for themselves and this understanding and this desire to like not be complacent and not say like, this is the only option that life has for me and this is just the way it is, and that you can make changes is just so like promising to me. Like, it just gives me so much hope, and like you just like see the world so differently. And so like, I just say these things, like I repeat it, and I will repeat it probably forever, because I really hope that like you hear me and you just give it a shot. Like, I'm not always right. I'm mostly always right. But I am wrong sometimes. So, that's full disclosure. But like I say, like, go out there and try. Just attempt to do something differently and just see how great your life can be as a result of it. Like, what do you have to lose? You can always go back to the person you were. I can always go back to not meditating. I can always go back to not putting anything in my gratitude jar. I can always go back to not exercising. I can always go back to overeating. I can always go back to yelling at people. I can always go back to being abusive to myself. Those options don't go away. It's not like you decide to meditate and now you're committed and you can't not. No, you can always go back. Like, if that life was so great and wonderful that you were so afraid to leave it, you aren't leaving it. Like, you could go there any day. It costs no money. It's a free ticket. And, you can go back and be that person. But if all of a sudden you try something else and then you're like, wait a minute, I really like this person I'm becoming. Like, I feel like it's like you feel it's like a literal audible sigh of relief. You feel this like weight off of your shoulders. And so like, I'm a person who likes to try new things, right? Like, so I'll try new things. I'll attempt to do my gratitude gushings on my phone, and I'll attempt to do meditations. And when it's not working, I'm not like pissed off that like, why isn't it working? I did this. Like, I'm not beating myself up. I'm like, okay, this strategy isn't working for you. What other strategies are there? And if I like just literally sometimes say it in the universe, like the synchronicity of the world will come and give me the answer. Like, it came in a book for me. Like, I want to integrate this. I've tried this. Like, what else can I try? Because I'm running out of ideas, but I'm open to continue trying if something comes my way. And it did. And so like, you know, I say all that to say, like, it doesn't have to all be all your own ideas either. Like, sometimes we get this impression, like, we have to, like, be the creators, be the inventors, reinvent the wheel. No, nothing. I'm telling you, I've listened to hundreds of different audiobooks and read books of inspirational speakers. I've listened to thousands of different speeches, and really, at the end of the day, they're all saying the same dang thing in a different way. And it's beautiful they are, because what like this gentleman had spoke to me didn't connect with me. And if he was the only person I ever heard, I may have lost the message. But the book I read before really, really impacted me, and is like, hey, this is one that I would be like, this one resonated with me. It doesn't mean it's going to resonate with you. Here is a list of all the books that I've read. Here a list of all the speeches I've listened to. And I'm telling you, it is all pretty much the same. And it's very simple. And it's very much that it's all in you. And it's these little choices. Like, life literally does not change by chance. It changes by change. And that change has to begin with you. You have to want it, whatever your rock bottom is. If your rock bottom isn't really even a bottom, it's just, I no longer am going to tolerate this. I'm saying, like, some people, it may be rock bottom because of their alcoholism or drug abuse or food abuse or sexual abuse or mental abuse, like mental abuse to others, mental abuse to themselves. Like, there's so many degrees and levels of what a rock bottom would be. But rock bottom is just I'm fed up. I'm not taking this anymore. And I know that I am the problem. Period. It is not anybody else's fault. You cannot blame anybody else. Like, really, the blame is on you. Like, and it's not your fault that things happen to you, but it is 1000% your responsibility to guard how it affects you, and it is your responsibility to guard how you respond. And in the moment, we often respond with our default survival mode skills that have been built into us. But we don't have to use those all the time. We can develop new skills, use new tools, use new language and communication that we just absolutely didn't know was possible. I mean, you know, you think about it, 100 years ago or whatever it was, they didn't think it would be possible to get to the moon, you know, and we developed the tools to do that. So it's like, you have the goal in mind. What is your goal in mind? What is your whole objective? Why are you listening to this? You know, like, what is the point? Like, what has driven you to listen to 38 minutes of me rambling on about my random life and my random philosophies and my random ideologies? And I don't even know if that's the right word for it. So yes, I don't know. I am not perfect. But like, why are you here? Like, why are you curious? Like, what is your goal? Like, do you have a goal? You don't even have to have a goal, but like, what is your plan? Like, what is broken in your life and that you want to fix? Like, what is getting you to the point where you're either already at the point of like frustration and this is not working, or what is like at the thing where you're like, I can just improve. Like, it's nothing is that bad. Like, I have a good marriage. I've got great kids. I've got a wonderful relationship with my family. I've got a good job, you know, like there's nothing wrong, but there's just something missing. Like it just can be better. So like that's an option too. Like you don't have to have a terrible traumatized life to say like, oh, now I need change. It's just, you just have to choose it. It's that easy. And it's like, where do you begin? Well, like I say, you just start super, 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 super micro small. And the smaller, the better, because as soon as you do one little thing and you have one win, it gives you the confidence. So yeah, the first time I meditated and I didn't fall flat on my face because I was squatting and I felt good and I had good music, that was a win. And it was 5 minutes and it seemed very short. Like, so it was manageable. Like, and I did it again and I was like, wow, I can really do this. I can do this. Like, this is possible. And then I did it again. And then I'm like, I want more. Like, this is good. I kind of get this. Like, I get why people do this every day. Like, I'm understanding why some of the spiritual leaders and, you know, people that are out there sharing on audiobooks and YouTubes and Twitters and TikToks and on Super Soul Sunday, like I get why they're doing this. Like I think I understand. I think I'm understanding. And I do it more and more and more, and you become more confident and you become more secure, and you don't feel like an imposter doing these things that were so foreign to you before, that like, you know, it was just like, oh yeah, that's what this person does. Do it, and if it feels good, do it every day. Like, make that a habit. And if you don't have time every day, make it every other day, make it once a week, whatever works for you in your schedule. Like, I was thinking about it last night and I was like, you know, I think a lot about like that saying too, like, you know, that people in our lives have a season, have a reason. And I think about it like, I finally got it last night. Like, I was like, I am in my Natasha season. And so when I'm in my Natasha season, I'm not saying I am not a mom still, or a businesswoman, or a wife. But what I am saying is I really neglected her for a really, really, really long time. And I never allowed her the opportunity to show who she was, to show what she wanted to do with her life. I was so, as my friend Yen had brought up to me, codependent on others' survival and feeling their pain and experiencing their experiences and just taking over and trying to fix everything, that there wasn't any time left for me. And so if I was like a, you know, Taylor Swift and I had an era or whatever it is, like I am in a season, and this season is the Natasha season. And when I'm in the Natasha season, which is like a funny thing to like think of and say, but like is like, what I'm doing is I'm rediscovering who I am. I am reimagining what my possibilities are. And I'm just being creative and trying different things. I'm keeping an open mind. I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to become aware of my faults and my mistakes. I'm willing to make amends. I'm willing to give you a hug and apologize. I'm willing to say, I'm really sorry. Like, I didn't intend to hurt you. Like, on the contrary, like, my intention was to help you. My intention was to protect you. But I can really see how, when I saw the world only through my eyes, I didn't see how it would fully affect you. And so, like, I think that this awareness and this willingness to just kind of let go of my ego and let go of my righteousness and let go of the blame, like, I believe it is part, like the last part of my journey. And I think that it took me to be able to have something that was like my weight, that was holding me back. Like the fat was like barnacles on me, right? It just made me ugly. It made me, and I'm not saying I was ugly or whatever, you know, like, but it was tough. It was rough. You know, you didn't want to touch it. It was like a form of armor on me. And I purposely put it there. I mean, there were many times that like in my, whether it was an excuse, whether it was part truth, whatever is full truth, that I'd be like, this is just my armor. Like if I am obese, less people are looking at me, less people are expecting certain things out of me. Like it was just a form of armor. Like, I have been sexually assaulted in the past. I have been molested in the past. Like it just made me, in my mind, less vulnerable to unwanted advances, or for worse than advances, taking advantage of, or whatever you want to call it. And, I felt very like I was protecting myself in a way. And I know part of that is true. And I know part of it is also like, oh, that's just kind of like my excuse. Like I'm going to say it's because of this or whatever. But it is part true and it is part excuse. And I don't blame even those people. Like I don't even blame those situations, because like I could just go back and say that, they had these messed up things, and that doesn't excuse the behavior. But I know in my heart, like I hope that most of these people, that just as most of the people that I've inflicted harm on, like feel the same. There wasn't like, I'm going to go out and hurt her. Like, I really got to believe that. I really do have to believe that. I just have to believe that nobody ever once was like, today I'm going to go out and hurt her. And or anybody, hurt you, hurt your loved ones, hurt your family, or hurt my family. But somehow, inevitably, we just do. And it's tough, right? Like that's a tough thing of life to know, like, you're not trying to hurt anybody, but like having this awareness and being able to release the blame. Like, it's not their fault that these things, I mean, some things, yes, are some people's faults or whatever. And I'm not absolving them, but like by forgiving them and saying, I don't blame, like how I dealt with it was on me. And yes, I was doing the best I could with the tools I had. Maybe I didn't know I could tell somebody. Maybe I was afraid to tell somebody. Maybe I didn't want to upset any, like I have my own reasons why I didn't. But if I'm wasting my time continually, some of these pains 40 years old, some of them 30 years old, some of them 20, if I continue to just blame the other person for the rest of my life, where is that going to get me? I'm going to carry around that trauma. I'm carrying it in my hips. I'm carrying it in my butt. I'm carrying it in my thighs. I'm carrying it in my arms. Like, why am I carrying it around? Like, I forgive you. I don't need you to give me a call and say, hey, I'm really sorry. Like, yeah, that would be great. That would be wonderful. But is it necessary for me to go on and live my life? No, I'm not going to sit around and wait for something I may never get. So what can I do? What can you do? We can change the narrative and we can give them forgiveness. You can write them a letter that you never send and say, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. You can say sorry too, because maybe in that you need to apologize. Maybe there's something in there that you did as well that like is eating you up. But to give forgiveness and go rip it up, burn it, shred it, send it, whatever you want to do, throw it in the trash can, crumble it up, do whatever you want with that. But to release the anger, release the hold that they hold on you, because who knows, maybe they've completely forgotten about this incident that has ruled you, that has affected you, and has affected you in your sleep and how you navigate this world. And so they own a piece of you still. Like they've taken enough. They've hurt you enough. Like, let it go. Forgive them, as hard as it may be. And now perhaps, I haven't faced the worst of the options where somebody does something absolutely unforgivable to me or my family or my kids or something like that. Like, maybe that's a different conversation, and I hope I never have to have that. But like, I really say for yourself, because that's what forgiveness is. It's not for them. Like, it is for yourself. And it doesn't mean that you have to forget. And for a long time, I thought, like, if I forgive you, that means I forget. If I forgive you, it means it gives you permission to do it again. If I forgive you, like, you know, all is done. Like, my pain is over. No, you can still be in whatever hurt you were. You can still be whatever your experience is, whatever you feel from time to time, or maybe frequently. But it just means there is no more anger. There is no more hostility. There is no more blaming. It is saying, where can I learn? Where can I grow? And that is where there is some real magic. That is where there is some real growth, is in that quiet of that moment of like, now what? Like, I forgive you. Where can I go? How do I make my life better despite this thing happening to me? And I truly do believe, I truly do believe. And it's a struggle sometimes when you're in it, right? Especially in the thick of it. I mean, I will sit there and I will repeat to myself these little, what are they called? I don't even know, whatever they are, but the sayings over and over, like, I will just say them to exhaustion. But this one I truly do believe is like, these things are not happening to you. They're happening for you. And I know in the minute, if you're, experiencing something really rough, you're like, how in the heck is this happening for me? Like, I just don't see it. And it makes you angry. Like, it pisses you off. You're like, this is not good. Like, how is this in my benefit whatsoever? But give it time, have that ability to kind of look at the broader picture. Because like when we step back and we look at the broader picture, sometimes things become clear. Like if we're doing a puzzle, right? Like sometimes if we're just so in it and focused and we're looking for this one piece, we can't find it and nothing is fitting and I swear this belongs here and we're just trying so hard. But like we take a step back, go to the bathroom, grab some water, come back and you're like, damn, it was right here the whole time. Like I didn't even see that, like, so I think that like, I don't know. I think that like, we just have to like really start with ourselves. Like that is where the change begins. And it can't be prompted for anybody else. I remember there was a time that Chris was like, you're just trying to lose weight so that you can go be with somebody else and da 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 da. And I'm like, listen, no, this is not for anybody else. And if it is, I guarantee you, I will be just as big, if not bigger than I was within a month's time. Because it's not sustainable. The motivation to do and put yourself through hell and harm and pain, it's just not enough for somebody else most times, right? Like not when it's yours. Like I'll do it for my kids. I will sacrifice, put myself through harm and hell. Obviously, you have 4 pregnancies. You know what I'm talking about. But like, what I'm saying is like for ourselves, like it's not sustainable. Like it's just not. And then if you have that willpower in you to do that for somebody else, then you're going to be super resentful. Like the people that are like, fine, I'll quit drinking to be with you, or fine, I'll quit adulterating to be with you, or fine, I'll quit pornography to be like, but they don't want to, they're not coming to this conclusion. And like, I saw it to be true. Like, even like when it came to like our relationship, like when we were doing couples therapy, at one point I was like, I'm working on me and we're working on we, but you're not working on you. And so like, I feel like you need to do individual therapy. And first off, to even get him into couples therapy, that took 20 plus years. So like, he was like, no. And then all of a sudden, one point he was like, okay, fine, I'll go do it. Like, I see what you're saying. And, it was hard because, there's a part of me that was like, good, he's finally doing what I'm asking. But then there was a part like, he doesn't want to be doing this in the first place. And if he wants to change, he has to want the change. And not just to keep the marriage. Like he wants to change as a human, regardless of what conditions are put on. Like he has to want to go to therapy, regardless of if the marriage will last or not. Like there aren't promises, there aren't guarantees. And I can't give you that because you have to want to do it yourself. And if you're doing it for me, it's like he would say, I'm doing therapy for you. No, you're not doing it for me. Like, yes, I am a beneficiary if you learn good communication skills and if you learn good coping skills, yes, I am a beneficiary, but this is for you. You know, like I tell my kids when it comes to their college experience, like, this is for you. Like, this is your life now to live. Like when you go get a job and when you go find a career, when you go meet a significant other, which college you choose, that's all for you. Like, it is not for me. Like, you know, like, or even with their grades, like, oh, I got good grades for you. And I was like, yes, but this is for you. Like, it is a requirement I ask for, but ultimately it doesn't, what you learn in calculus is not going to magically transport into my brain unless you communicate it with me. And so, yeah, no, this is for you. So this, my friends, the change, it's in you. If I can do it, little old me with my big old traumas, which to you may be little traumas, but to me, we're still big traumas. And all the dramas and all the llamas, mamas, whatever. If I can do this, if I can change, if I can find beauty in really rough situations, you can too. Because there's absolutely nothing so spectacularly special about me that makes me any different than you. I am literally average. I am literally just a normal person who is just going out there and just trying to be my absolute best for that moment in that day. Because I'm the only one that knows what my circumstances are. I'm the only one knows what emotional stuff I'm going through, what mental stuff I'm going through, what physical stuff I'm going through. Did I sleep? Did I eat? You know, is there something going on with my family? I am the only one in this world that knows that. And so sometimes I need to take an evaluation and be like, my best today is a 50%. You know, I'm going to give 50%. And sometimes my best is 100, and sometimes my best is 110, and sometimes it's 2%. But only I know that. And I know if I'm giving my best, and even when I'm at my best, if I'm like, listen, this is my best today, and if I challenge myself and say, you know, and if we equate it to like $1 or like money sense, like I could be like, okay, can you give another penny? Can you give another 10 cents, 5 cents, 25 cents, 50 cents? No more than $1. But if you give just a little bit more than you think you are capable of, you will all of a sudden get this like sense of like, oh, you shifted your boundary past where you thought it was. Like you pushed your limits beyond what you thought was possible for that day. And not so much so that it depleted you even more. No, we're not doing that. But it's enough to say like, I can do that. You know, like I said, I'm struggling here and I was like, I committed to doing this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to keep it short. For me, short 30 minutes, like that's still long, but like, you know, like I still did what I was going to do. I was still honest and vulnerable. And hopefully somebody can relate that there's just some days that you struggle and you got to get through them, and you get through them by finding what works for you. And what works for me may not work for you, but hey, here's a tool. And if it does work for you, please use and share. So, you know, I'm excited for this weekend. I have, I possibly will go see, like, oh, we were talking about Friends yesterday. So, like, ironically, like, when I got done filming, I literally look at my phone. I have a text from my friend Lori. I was like, I literally was just talking about her on here. I was like, and then I reached out to my friend Pauline because we're supposed to be doing a lunch soon. So, you know, and then I got to see my friend Yen. So it's like, I'm like in this little bit of a friend little kind of era at this moment where it's like reconnecting and, you know, just taking those relationships not for granted, and, you know, hoping that those people can see how special they are to me, and then I'll make time. So Lori had invited me over, but I have senior night with my one son, so I'm not sure if we're gonna go. If I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go. And then on Sunday, I will be doing a full day from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., like becoming a fitness instructor. I'm not going to do anything with it. So it's just, I don't know why I'm doing it, to be honest, but I just wanted to hang out with the instructor and dance all day. The other stuff is a bonus. And then, you know, like hanging out with, I think it's like 13 of us total or something like that. So it's going to be, you know, an interesting day, but, so I've got that coming up, and yeah, so I'm excited for the weekend because it's Friday. Woohoo! And I'm going to go dance tonight. So I've got all my things done so I can kind of relax this evening when I get home, which it means more work for most people, but like my own little form of rest and relaxation before the weekend gets really grooving and moving. So, oh, and I also have a soccer game tomorrow night for my son, so it's a busy little time. But yeah, so that's my weekend, but I'll be checking in with you guys because I don't take a day off. I'm when I'm in, and I'm gonna do the best I can every single day and just get a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better. And that's the goal, and that's the hope, and that's what I'm striving for, is just to be my own personal best self. So I say all this to say, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to have shared this little bit of time with you. And I hope that you have an amazing day, an amazing weekend. Please feel free to share whatever you want with me. Reach out. Like, I adore you. I thank you so much for listening to me. And I hope that something connects with you. So have a wonderful day. Mwah. Bye.